Hello P1, how are you doing? Is everything fine at home? That's good. I'm Violet. As usual, I've come with Literacy 1B. We are still talking about accidents and first aid. We have been looking at very many accidents, those ones you can get at home, on the way, and at school. We also learned those things that cause accidents. We learned the ways we can, the causes of accidents, those things you do and you get the accidents. And then we looked at how to prevent those accidents, how we can control those accidents from happening. That's where we stopped. Now I've come with first aid. Say first aid. First aid. Here we are. Have you ever heard of first aid? Do you know what it means? This is my explanation. First aid is the first help. First aid is the first help given to a casualty before being taken to the hospital. First aid is the first help given to a casualty before being taken to hospital. Now somebody is going to ask me, who is a casualty? A casualty is this person who has got an accident. So first aid is the first help you give a person who has got an accident before you take that person to the hospital. As you see in this picture, there is a person who has got an accident. You see this one lying down? This is the person we call a casualty. The one who has got an accident is the one we call a casualty. Now, there is another person there who is helping, who is giving that first help, is giving first aid. That person is called a first aider. A first aider. So who is a first aider? A first aider is a person who gives first aid. A first aider is a person who gives first aid. So that is what we call first aid. The first help we give to a person who has got an accident before being taken to hospital. Or the first help we give to a casualty before taking that casualty to the hospital. Okay? And a casualty is that person who gives or who has got an accident. Then the one who gives first aid is called a first aider. Let's continue. Let's see. Which things do we need to give first aid? If you are a first aider, what do you need to give that first help, that immediate help before the person is taken to the hospital? You need some things, okay? We normally find those things in hospitals, in schools, even in vehicles as we are moving. Those things must be there because you never know. We might get an accident and we need first aid. So those things that we need, to give first aid are called a first aid kit. They are called a first aid kit. Those things we need in order to give first aid. There are very many things we need. So when we put all of them together, we call them first aid kit. And we always keep those things in a tool or in a box or in a container. The container where we keep those things is called a first aid box, as you see the word, a first aid box. So these are things found in the first aid box. These things we are seeing here, all these ones are the ones we call first aid kit, the things we use to give first aid. And we must keep them in a first aid box, okay? Now these are the things we need. One, we need bandage. Have you ever gone to hospital and you saw bandage? Yes, even in schools we have bandages. We have plaster. Even at home I know you have them. You have plaster at home. Gloves. We need gloves because a first aider needs the gloves. We need a razor blade. A razor blade or a pair of scissors. Then painkillers. Do you know why we need these painkillers? Because that casualty feels a lot of pain, so we need to relieve the pain. By so, we have to give painkillers. A pair of scissors. As I told you, we need a razor blade or a pair of scissors. We need cotton wool. And here we are. The first aid kit and box in them. You see all these containers? You see all these containers? We have that one green, first aid. We have that one, we have that one, we have another one here and another one. What have you seen them having in common? Have you seen what they are having in common? They all have that cross in the middle. They all have them. This one is open, but outside it's there. These are what we call first aid box. They are containers. They are containers where we keep the first aid kit. And you see all the things are here. These are the ones we call the first aid kit. These are the things we use to give first aid. Look at that one. What are those? Those are gloves. Those are the ones we call gloves. We wear them on the hands. Then we have tweezers. This one is used to pick cotton wool. We are going to see the uses of this, all these. Then we have a pair of scissors. We have plaster here. Even that one is plaster. We have plaster there and another plaster. We have a small plaster and a big one. Then we have gauze. We have gauze. We have other things here as we are going to see them. All right? Okay, let's continue. So, all these things, there are some things we've not seen. Like we've not seen a razor blade, but we are going to see it. We've not seen gauze. We are going to see. We've not seen iodine. We need iodine. We have not seen spirit, but we are going to see. Just give it some minutes. We are going to see the spirit, iodine, and we shall see the uses of each of those things that we use to give first aid. Remember, you give first aid before taking that person to the hospital. Do you know why? The one who is giving first aid is not a doctor, is not a nurse, doesn't know what to do, but we just give first aid to help that person have some relief before taking him or her to the hospital. We have learned what first aid is the first help we give to a person who has got an accident. We have seen that a casualty is a person who has got an accident, and a first aider is a person who gives first aid. Okay? And I told you a first aider needs things to use as he's giving first aid, and all those things are called first aid kits. They are called first aid kit, and those things are kept in one container. That container is the one we call a first aid box. Can you still remember some things we find in the first aid box? You still remember some? We have plaster, bandage, gloves, a razor blade, pair of scissors. We need iodine, we need spirit, we need gauze, we need tweezers, we need cotton wool. So those are things we use to give first aid. You have been good learners. I love you so much. Keep listening, keep watching, and keep learning. Thank you until we meet in the next lesson.